Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, the Prime Minister has told President Trump that she's disappointed by his decision to withdraw the US from the 2015 Paris Climate Accord. That was the agreement that saw almost 200 countries, including the world's biggest polluters, agree on a need to cut greenhouse gas emissions. Yesterday, Mr. Trump explained his decision, arguing the deal put the US at an enormous disadvantage.
At what point does America get demeaned? At what point do they start laughing at us as a country? We want fair treatment for its citizens, and we want fair treatment for our taxpayers. We don't want other leaders and other countries laughing at us anymore, and they won't be. They won't be. I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris.
And we're joined now by the Liberal Democrat Ed Davey, who served as the Secretary of State for Energy and Climate Change under the coalition government. Welcome to the Daily Politics. Donald Trump, as you know, was elected on a promise to do exactly this, using that line he said at the end of that clip. So should we really be surprised that he is fulfilling a campaign promise?
Perhaps not surprised, but far more than disappointed. He's letting down his own people because he's lying to them, saying that the climate change agreement is going to hurt American industry. More than twice as many people work in the solar industry as the coal industry, and that's the growing industry. And the growth jobs for America, just like the UK and just like elsewhere, are in the clean tech, are in the green energy sector. And so he's sold them a lie. Unfortunately, he's delivering on the lie. It's bad economics as well as very bad science.
Except the Paris deal is effectively a voluntary deal, isn't it? So, I mean, the US can, in a way, stay committed to the agreement if they choose to, without, actually fulfilling its pledge to limit emissions. It could have remained as part of the Paris Agreement and actually still broken it.
But look what he's actually doing with the climate policy from the Environmental Protection Agency and outwards. They're pulling back on the commitments that President Obama gave to take action in America. And given that the US represents nearly 15% of global greenhouse gases, the second largest polluter in the world after China, they have to act for the world to succeed in tackling climate change. And he's rowing back on that. He's also rowing back on America's help to other countries, developing countries who need that support that Britain and Germany and other countries are giving. And so he's actually really undermining the global effort on climate change. And we should be speaking out loud and hard against this American betrayal.
Why is he undermining the rest of the world in terms of what they do to reduce, green gas emissions? Because because he's pulling out, or as I said, it was a voluntary deal anyway, why should it affect the rest of the world?
Well, I'm not saying it will affect the rest of the world in the sense of our actions. No. We should keep acting. We should do far more than the Conservative government was doing and the Conservative Party is proposing. However, because they represent so much of the world's greenhouse gases, we need them to act too. This is a global problem. You can't act alone. That's the whole reason why you had an agreement with the United Nations, so everyone was playing their fair share. And America, as one of the largest polluters in the world and one of the richest countries in the world, ought to play its part, and it's failing. And that's a failure of leadership. Except it has
reduced its emissions, hasn't it, over the last few years?
Indeed, but by nowhere near enough.
3%, I think.
That's tiny. We've done far more in the UK,
How much
far
has the
more
EU,
in Europe.
What has the EU done with its emissions overall?
Well, we're already exceeding our target for 2020. Our target in 2020 was a 20% reduction, and I think it's about 24%. I could be wrong on the exact figures. And we're aiming, and I negotiated a deal in the EU, that we should reduce our greenhouse gases by at least 40% by 2030, far more ambitious than the United States. So we've been playing a leadership role in the UK up till the Conservatives took power by themselves in 2015 when they've rowed backwards on a lot of the action. Europe's been playing an action, and China and India are now acting. So America is isolating itself. The only other countries who have opted out of the Paris Agreement are Syria and Nicaragua. Do we really think that the United States is in a real position when we all know that science is extraordinarily worrying about what's happening to our planet?
Should Theresa May have taken a a much firmer line. I mean, saying to Donald Trump she's disappointed, you know, hardly matters. And actually, the American administration is saying that the fact that EU leaders are upset about it is a secondary benefit.
Well, she has had a telephone conversation with him in which she has expressed her disappointment at his actions. I think, to put this in context, as you said yourself, the Paris Accords is a very weak agreement that doesn't commit any of its signatories to meeting any particular targets.
But it is a start, isn't it? I mean, it was seen as a pretty groundbreaking agreement.
True, and it is disappointing that Donald Trump has pulled out. But last March, don't forget, he said that America wasn't going to, had no intention of meeting its voluntary target of reducing carbon dioxide emissions by 26% by 2025. I mean, it would be meaningful and not just a symbolic gesture, what happened yesterday, if it meant other countries withdrawing too, and Ed Davies flagged up that risk. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
I mean, there could be the risk of a domino effect. We'll have to wait and see. But is Donald Trump entitled to use his own words to put America first and American jobs first, even if, as Ed Davies said, it won't actually have that effect?
Well, he's entitled to do it as long as he understands that we're laughing at him now. We're laughing at that country and its appalling, broken politics.
But he doesn't care, does he?
He might not care, but the children of America will care, and those coal miners. My dad and granddad were coal miners, and I can tell you, they loved the earth more than they loved mining coal. But I think it's going to have domestic repercussions, this, because businesses are looking for a long-term regulatory signal. What does government prefer? The Tory government of 2010 to 2015 preferred fracking. Now, it's quite clear that Theresa May's incoming government, if she wins, will prefer fracking and carbon emissions. They will be the soft underbelly of Paris, and I will predict that if it gets tough under Brexit, they're the next ones that will go.
All right, because you're going to stay with us for the next chat too, Ed Davies.
I've been getting away with